Welcome back to Downloadable Content, still talking about PAX East, our recap for 2016. We are all still here. I don't think another settlement needs Reid's help. I think he's still here.
Give it like 5 minutes and then it'll happen.
It'll happen? All right.
Bad things.
You know, I've never played Fallout 4, but that's the only meme I ever see of that game.
It's the only one you need to know for like the first good like hour of the game. Anytime you don't even talk to this one dude, you just pass by him. He's like, "Oh hey, settlement needs help. I'll mark it on your map for you." Like, no, I've got other things to do, man.
So, and I know that Fallout 4 is made by Bethesda, so it's like the same thing in Skyrim, where you walk into a city for the first time, and you pick up 25 different side quests because you overhear little snippets of conversations from NPC. No!
Well, see, this is the technical age, so now there's radio, too. You walk into a place, new radio channel found. Hey, let's see if the music's any good. You turn to the channel, and you instantly get a quest. It's like, son of a... I've got 8 already that I'm working on.
There's fire! Someone has...
That's just a weekend at Wyatt's, but...
Hey, now. You're not wrong.
But hey... So day 2... Diving into day 2, right off the bat for day 2, the first thing I realized, and I don't know if this is something that I've seen at PAX. I know why you spend a lot more time interviewing developers and whatnot, but I got to play some games from indie studios that are not based in the US. Like, this is the first time I actually noticed that this was, like, really sort of international. Because the first game I played that day was from an African indie studio.
Really? That's awesome.
And the game is called Orion, Legacy of the Kori Odan.
See, that's annoying because I didn't even see that, and I want to see it.
Well, it is on Steam, so I will throw the link at you in just a second. But the developer hails from Cameroon.
That's awesome. I got to play, there was a setup right at the edge of the indie booth. It was 4 different creators of indie games from South Korea.
Ooh.
They were all in the exact same section. They all had a different style game, but they were all right next to each other. There was a setup of... I'm sure you saw them last year. I know everyone knows that I like Night Squad.
Yes.
And they're actually from up north. They're from Quebec, I believe. And they came back down with more of their friends. And this time when they showed back up, they actually showed back up with at least 10 or 12 different developers. And they kind of came with this little mini icon. It was a bright red little tiny sign at each top of the booth that says Up North Games, and they show up and they're all developers from Quebec or Canada that kind of show up as a group and go, hey, we're all here to show off our games. They're all different, but they wanted to kind of come as a group. So I am special. That's awesome. I love that we're getting different perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had seen this one.
Yeah, I mean, Orion, I got to play it, and, you know, he was talking, you know, it's an African fantasy action RPG.
That sounds awesome.
So, it's definitely inspired. The gameplay definitely has that sort of hack and slash feel. It has a bit of, you can tell that it's inspired by the Tales series of RPGs.
Okay.
But a lot of the plot elements and story draw very heavily from African culture. And he was talking to me, the developer's talking to me about how the game itself was hand-drawn, and it's a beautiful, beautiful game. So, the studio is... the developer is... I know I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, so I'm just gonna spell it. It's KIRO''O. The publisher is Plug-In Digital. And I played this game for about 20 minutes, and just the demo, I got sucked in. The demo ended, I'm like, wait, what?
That makes me so happy. That's awesome to hear.
And the one other game that I will mention that also, again, international developer, the game is called Through the Woods.
Yeah, that was a good one.
The game is Through the Woods. It's a survival horror, but it's a psychological survivor horror. There's no combat, so it's not like Silent Hill or any of that. But the studio, I'll look that up in a minute as well. But it's a Nordic studio, and so a lot of the enemies in the game are inspired by old Norse folk tales.
Yeah, that one definitely caught my eye as well. Just the atmosphere in it. Like, I'm not usually one for like spooky sorts of games, but I just got drawn in by the atmosphere of that game, and just like it was like so quiet and so like you only have your flashlight.
Yep.
You know, like she's just walking around with a flashlight, and it's like, and I don't know about you, Brian, but did you
The studio was Antagonist. Antagonist. That's the name of the studio. Anyway,
did you play it with our headphones on?
I did not. I was talking to the developer at the same time.
Well, I'll just say this: playing with the headphones was a whole different experience. Like, I felt like I wasn't even at PAX anymore. Like,
nice.
Just the sound design in this game was ridiculous. I was so drawn in. I felt like I could hear every leaf rustling. And I don't know if it was like the headphones could have also just been noise canceling headphones, but like seriously, the sound in that game just made a huge difference in the experience.
Yeah, the studio is from the Antagonist games. They're from Norway. So again, just going back to the whole, this was the first PAX that I can remember that we're starting to see, more out of the United States indie studios. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, there was a section of the indie floor devoted to just Australian developers, and then seeing Orion and Through the Woods, you have the African studio and the studio from Norway. That was amazing to see. Like, holy shit! It just the amount of interest and joy from just multiple parts of the world, because when we think of video games, we tend to think that we automatically think Japan or the United States. Those are the two countries where games come from. But then you start to see things like this at a convention. It's like, holy shit! And with that, they bring their culture, their influences into a game, and it's very beautiful to see. It's a very refreshing perspective.
There was another group right near the entrance of the expo hall floor when you walked in from the queue line, and it was a group of German developers actually, and one of the kind of PR people that brought these 3 or 4 games over. That's the one that you saw, the Dwarves. They had a setup for the Dwarves, and they also had a game or two there called like the Police and another one, and it was really interesting to play that just because it was slightly different because of it being a different culture area. So they had one where you're manage a city and try to keep it safe and clean, but then you remember, wait, this game was made in Europe, it wasn't made in America, so their version is maybe slightly different than ours. I started to see that in the demo, but I can't tell it in depth yet, but that was really cool. Getting into a conversation with those guys, I'm really happy to see the elements of many different cultures, both just in terms of a nationality perspective, a lot more female developers, a lot more that I went to 1 or 2 indie booths, and there were a few people that were in drag or they were transsexual, and just no one was batting an eye. Like, I was actually looking around seeing if anything was going to be an issue with it, but they had a lot of panels and stuff like that.
Yes.
About equality and people being accepted, and it was just a great atmosphere this year. I feel like it just felt like anyone could be themselves in many different ways, and that was kind of great to see.
Did you happen to make it to the Diversity Lounge as well?
I do, actually. Kenji, he was someone who actually managed the gaming society after I left New Pulse. He's been an enforcer there for years, and I believe he's been one of the people behind the Diversity Lounge for the last 2 years, maybe longer than that. Or was the last year the first year of the Diversity Lounge? I think last year was.
It was definitely there last year.
Last year or 2 years ago. It's at least
they're all blending together. Yeah, last year I knew there was a Diversity Lounge because I visited it then. It was a lot of the same this year. I think it's really cool that they have it. There's a company there that I'm trying to do an interview with called Take This, and they are a great group. because well, it's obviously named after It's Dangerous to Go Alone, and they're actually a group for mental counseling and mental health, and talking about that sort of stuff. So they go to these conventions, not just PAX, from what I know, from talking with them last year and this year, and they have counselors on site. So the second floor above the Diversity Lounge, they had another area called kind of an AFK area,
Yes.
where normally they have counselors there in case someone feels overwhelmed just from social anxiety, or to talk people down from some tough stuff, which they have done before at conventions. So that's awesome that they're there. Then you have like the Able Gamers, which are trying to make controllers for people that are physically disabled so they can play games, right next to the Gamers group, GAYMER. And I know they have their own convention, and it's just great to see that there and see everyone being connected. I always make sure since last year to stop on in, see what's going on in every section, because there's these little now small side pockets at this massive convention center that aren't just the panels, but are also like there was a room set aside just for old Kickstarters, like Exploding Kittens, where you could buy that. You had the arcade lounge, like you were talking about, and then you have the Diversity Lounge and other locations like that, which are just these little set you can walk by, not realize they're there right away, but they're awesome.
Yeah, the AFK room started at it started in 2014, and now so they now are going to have an AFK room in every single PAX,
and it makes sense, honestly.
So that's amazing. I did manage to I did get to the arcade room on the second day, and I just kind of lived there for a little while. I saw Mortal Kombat 2 and instantly childhood.
It's very easy to live in that room, I tell you.
Very. And I saw people playing Street Fighter.
Of course.
My brother-in-law, Ryan, he couldn't make it to PAX on the first day, but he was with me for all of day 2 and 3. So we played Mortal Kombat 2 against each other, and was like, ah. And then I, in a fit of further nostalgia, hopped on the Q*bert arcade machine, and I was playing Q*bert. It was a cartridge I used to have when I was 5, so I'm like, ah.
Nostalgia.
Ah. We had the Shanna and I were actually at a panel. Shanna, Ryan, and I were at a panel at the start of the day. It was the music and video games panel.
Yeah, that was the first thing of the day, actually.
It was.
For me, at least, yeah.
The Maestros, right?
Yep, the Maestros of video games. So we had 5 different composers. So let me just very quickly pull up that list there. My biggest attraction for that panel was Gareth Coker. He is the composer for Ori and the Blind Forest, which, again, it's one of those games that if you don't have it, get it. Like, get it.
Now, right this second.
Right this second. Gareth Coker, Daniel James, Tom Salta, Jason Hayes, and Mikolaj Strawinski. Those other 4 names did not ring a bell, but you may have played their games. Because they have done music on Metal Gear Solid 5, some of the Halo games, World of Warcraft. Jason Hayes is actually one of Blizzard's
yes, I know that name.
Group of composers. And it was very, very interesting to hear their perspectives. One of the probably the most memorable thing was Daniel James. He was asked a question at the end of the panel, because they all have Q&As. So one of the audience members asked, how do you take how do you go into a franchise that has an already existing sound and make it your own? Daniel James, he helped do some of the music on Metal Gear Solid 5. And as we all know, Harry Gregson Williams was the composer for the other games. So it's like, how do you take the themes that the fans already know and try to make them your own? Because it's like Konami was basically like, okay, the themes that Harry Gregson Williams did, yeah, do gooder. It's like, okay. And each composer, they basically, they're given a game, and they write the music for what they feel should be appropriate for that particular point in the game. So very, very interesting to hear this perspective. I've restrained myself from just fanboying all over the composer for Ori.
Yeah, like I took a good note from that. Just because this is something hearing these panels and hearing what they talk about, it's something I never would have even thought about. But it was the recipe for a good game is working with the programmers and making sure that the music that they're composing fits and that the cues occur at the right time. Because that's something you wouldn't even think about. You know what I mean? There's just...
As a player, typically not.
Like, it's not music, but it's got to be composing music to fit what the developers in the moment and, the cues of what's happening at what time, making sure that the music ramps up at the right time, that the action's ramping up. Like, it's things that you wouldn't even really... Like, you notice it, but you don't think about it in terms of songwriting. Because it's not just writing a nice piece of music, it's how does this music translate and the feelings or the emotions that are going into this scene. Because think about it, music really propels you when you play a game. Like, you'll hear a song and suddenly, like, the way the music mixes with what you're doing and what you're playing in the game will suddenly make your palms sweat a little bit more. Like, I mean, we've talked about it a million times, but the drowning music in Sonic the Hedgehog. It's so simple.
God, why?
It's so,
No.
it's so simple, but that is like the sound of an anxiety attack. It's just interesting to kind of hear them talk about how they would techniques that they would use and the ways they would write their music to fit what was going on in the game and how much of a volley that is between composer and developer.
It was a very informative panel, and it's just... I love video game music. Some of the most beautiful music I've ever listened to come from video games. There are certain albums on my iPod from video games that I cannot listen to if I'm at work because I'll just start bawling.
Oh, I can't listen to certain Kingdom Hearts songs without getting a little misty.
So
Nerd.
And proudly so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So fuck you.
Well, that just escalated quickly.
Yes, it did. So I know Reid and Wyatt, you wanted to talk about the Rift Walk.
Yeah. So this was, again, I'm going to go back to my exact same premise that I've done before, which is, again, one reason why you go to PAX or events like this is to try totally new, weird things. And the Rift Walk was. So Rift Walk was being done by Riot Games. I'm sure, as everyone knows, who's been to a PAX before, League of Legends in years past was sort of a big thing. They would set up that massive booth in the Expo Hall floor, and it would stop traffic because they would set up these booths with 5-on-5 matches of different colleges and teams, and people would just cram in there, not to like play the game, but just to watch the matches and to try to get signatures by the artists. And it got so big, and then they tried the line for that cosplay when they last did it, I think 2 years ago. People. Or more, and they had to bring them all on one at a time. And now we have another Soraka looking as amazing as the first Soraka. I'm not judging. It's just that's what it turned into because there were so many people that were such big fans about this game. So last year they weren't even there at all on the show floor, and what they had is they had something on the side called the Hospitality Lounge, where it's sort of if you were in cosplay, you could go in there. They had little setups where you could take pictures in front of sort of frame. They have these actually like parks in Japan that do the same thing, where they kind of set up backdrops we can take pictures in front of. And they had that there last year, and then they also started setting up in PAX, as I'm sure you all saw. They had the PAX Arena now in the center. So you had the Expo Hall floor, the area where you had the player versus player setups. So League of Legends was huge there, of course, but they had to get them out of the Expo Hall floor, and they had the Hospitality Lounge. This year they took it up a notch by adding the Rift Walk, which was an interactive cosplay gaming experience where I didn't really know what it was, and I kind of avoided it on the first day, but I heard good things by my friend Jesse and Murphy, who still play League of Legends a little bit. They said, you've got to try it out. They have a 12-foot tall Thresh puppet in there who, is menacing you, and they take pictures, and it's really cool. So I played League of Legends with my brother, and I haven't played in over a year. I think same thing with Reid and Jack, right?
Every once in a while, like every couple months, I'll get an itch to go on and play, and then I I look at the team chats and the like hour-long game session and go, well, that was fun. It'll be fun again in a few months.
Yeah, that's usually my thing. Is I love the idea of the game and stuff like that. Then I'll jump in. I'll be really deep into it for about a week, like really, and then I get tired of sometimes before having to go into that really super competitive mode, and I kind of pull and relax a bit. So we have 4 people on the screen to play this game. 2 of my groomsmen for my wedding, and my brother, who is also a groomsman. And we're all on this line, and it turns out to be 2 hours because everyone wants to go see it now that they've heard about it. And one of the really cool things about this was that they give you a little wristband which has an RFID tag in it. So when you log it on, where they created an app just for PAX, it synced with your RFID tag, so any pictures or anything that you took would sync up with your RFID tag when you're in the Rift Walk. And when you did this, they also gave you a set of quests where, like, if you took a picture with a developer, or if you knew some trivia about League of Legends and you filled it out, if you filled out all of it, you were entered into a raffle to win a prize during the convention. They would notify you as a notification on your phone saying, hey, by the way, you won something. Congratulations. So we're on that line for 2 hours, and normally you'd be bored out of your mind, but I ended up having a really good time with Reid, right?
Yeah, it was great just talking to some of the other like people and players that were in line, and just being able to stand there and watch the groups of different cosplayers go by, and it was like it was a great people watching session, really.
Right, because League of Legends has, I don't think they're at the hundreds yet, but they've got dozens and dozens of characters, and they all have very iconic outfits, and they have alternatives to those outfits. You had other games where there was at least 2 or 3 female Dantes from Devil May Cry that walked by. There was quite a few from Undertale all walking by, and you've got this long line around the edge of the second floor of the expo hall. And the nice thing is that there was cardboard place to just sit and wait, and people would just be like, hey, can I take a picture? They'd stop. People in the line would take pictures of the cosplayers. We ended up talking with the people around us about cosplay. And there were some really, really great ones. And that's also where the Hospitality Lounge was. And they actually had a photo booth set up where if you had really good cosplay, they'd take your picture. You'd have these almost really nice, as into a studio, and have some pictures taken that they'd send to you later. So it was just really kind of cool to see that other side that I didn't see quite as often, even before we got into the Rift Walk. And I know, Reid, you actually, since you were wearing your Vault outfit, you could actually go into the Hospitality Lounge, right?
Yeah, after standing around for a little while with you guys, I decided that I needed to go check out and see what was in the hospitality room, and it was actually really cool because it was basically a like little sanctuary for cosplayers from the rest of the con. I mean, you go in and there was hot coffee and tea, full of cough drops, because of all the people that would either be yelling in character or constantly had to explain how they made this little part of their cosplay outfit, whatever the case may be. And then they just had tables that felt like an arts and crafts cabin from like a camp, because there were just these tables of like sewing equipment, glue, hot glue guns, fabric glue, staplers, like just this mass of stuff. So cosplayers in there, so you didn't have the regular con goers that would constantly stop and, hey, can I get your picture and stuff? So it was kind of that haven for especially those with really technical cosplay outfits and things to get them on or off, or just take a couple minutes for some quick repairs, or even just grab a quick tea and a moment's breather from being like, photographed every 2 seconds.
Yeah, because some of those guys, they get, either because they just look really good in the outfit, it's something weird and people haven't seen before, or it's just really good, well-done outfit. So I know, for example, DJ Soda.
Oh, she was. I actually got a chance to help her lend a hand in her getting like set up for her outfit and all with the working lights. She's done. She told me that this was like her 10th time cosplaying and not nearly the most technical outfit. And this thing needed like a trolley and like 2 spotters just to get her through some of the crowds. So yeah, if you don't know League of Legends, Soda's a character who has a very large, almost harpsichord around her waist that she plays on while she floats around the battlefield. And they made a skin for her. They made her look like a DJ, almost like Daft Punk and It's like
Dead
Daft
Mouse.
Punk and Tron mixed together.
Right, so they made this kind of really cool skin with lots of lights and stuff like that. So she set up a rolling table with what looked like, DJ spinners on it and LED lights that flashed in time with the music. She put speakers into it. She had the speaker, sort of the rave outfit, and she just walked around. And people from Riot Games who were just waiting on this line and ushering people through, they brought her out, they hooked her in, and she just sat there and played music for the line while for the last hour we were on the line. So it's just really cool to see that interactivity.
And that was kind of her goal going into it, because she knew that she was going to have limited mobility. Although she did make it onto the exhibition floor at one point, like in full get up, with 2 enforcer bodyguards helping separate the crowd as she walked through, pumping music and doing the whole DJ whatnot. So that was impressive. But I mean, just the sheer volume of seeing the people in process of putting some of their cosplay outfits and everything on in the hospitality room, the fact that they had that little sanctuary was an awesome concept, because even if you're just wearing a hat that says something, if you have a recognizable cosplay outfit on, it becomes a lot of hard work real fast. So I think,
hey, can I get a picture? Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm one of those people. Now you're making me feel all guilty.
Well, no, as long as you're good and ask beforehand, stuff like that. I mean, that's going to dress up as a character and go to a con and not expect every couple of steps or so some fan to be like, "Oh my god, that's awesome!" And that's partially what you do it for. Everybody I spoke to in the little hospitality room, that was exactly it. They're like, "Oh, I love this game so much. It's awesome to find so many other fans, and it's a great boost when they recognize what I'm from." There was one guy there that was dressed as some type of and unfortunately, I guess some little kid was like, "Master Chief."
Aww.
Close enough, kid. You're young enough, but no, it was just really cool that they provided this own little space and everything for it. And it was on a more personal note, it was awesome to go in there, because I ended up running into another a Brotherhood of Steel Fallout cosplayer in this giant body armor that told me about an official cosplay photo shoot for the game, which going in I had no idea about. So I ended up getting sucked into 40 plus other people in this massive photo shoot going on. Part of my evening.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something where I've always wanted to cosplay. I just couldn't get something together because I kept changing my mind. I was busy with the Sprites and Dice stuff. But yeah, Reid got to go through that experience. That was awesome. But that's not even what the Rift Walk was. So the Rift Walk was great because they took 2 or 3 side rooms and they closed it off, and they kind of made it an interactive museum area that you walked through. So they had the fog machines going the entire time. Dimmed the lighting, made it seem like the jungle that's in the game. They had the voiceovers, welcome to Summoner's Rift and everything else like that going throughout it. But the really cool thing about it was that what they had is that they had individual, almost museum stands of different cosplay, of different items from the game being shown off, and kind of the history of how they came to be, who made the game, cosplayers for the game, showing off the different concept art.
Yeah, they showed the evolution of how the art style for some of the characters, some of the maps changed.
And what you could do is that by these things, you could actually take your RFID tag that you had on your wrist and you'd scan it. And it would then send you that information to your personal webpage on your app that you could download later. And awesome. That was really nifty, because then what they had there as well, where they had areas where you could take pictures. So they had one where they actually had several of the weapons. And so me, Jack, Reid, and my brother all picked up weapons and decided to, look like we were attacking each other. And then they'd send you pictures of that later, right to your phones you could download. They had one for a whole row of pictures that it takes in succession to make it look like a GIF. Brian, you've probably seen that on my wall by now. The one that looks like me and my brother frozen in time while we're being attacked by a large monster.
Yep.
The victory pose, where you got these great pictures. And again, my brother said, he wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know what to expect, but it ended up being this great experience because it wasn't about the game itself. You didn't play the game. You weren't online to demo the game. You were online to kind of be able to talk with the developers. And Riot's always been good about this, where they talk to you about who's their favorite champion is, why they play the game, how they got into it. And in there, it was even more so like that, where you got to see the art, how this game got built up. And it's a huge cultural phenomenon, because Riot Games really came out of nowhere. It was kind of a self-generated thing, and now they're one of the biggest games that's always been. And I did send you a picture of that 12-foot Thresh puppet, which unfortunately they weren't puppeteering while we were there, but on Sunday I got to see it. The puppet group brought it out onto the show floor, and they had it, pushing the crowd apart and walking around them with its large chains and everything and the glowing eyes. And it was really, really cool, and just awesome that there was this brand new experience. So if you've ever played League of Legends ever, and you've maybe stopped playing like I have, it was still great to go through it. And I'm hoping that other games and other developers kind of look at this in the future and go, hey, maybe that's something that we could do. Rather than try to show off a new game and try to sell something, why don't we kind of give back in some ways, or kind of make it a larger experience about our games that have come previous? And I love that stuff.
And that'll draw in new fans, like people just be like, okay, what's this experience? They go, they check it out, and then they might go and check out the game anyway.
Well, I think it's interesting too with, specifically League of Legends and Riot, because, as a company, they're awesome. Like Wyatt said, they started small. They've had a very strong community focus, but unfortunately, they've also been one of those games that's just plagued by, and it's no fun on their part. It's just it has such this reputation for having a toxic community, because you get those really gun-ho gamers that are like, oh, if they don't win it, I'm gonna tell you what I did to your mother last night. But and I think kind of helping show this aspect of, here's the gaming community, here's different cosplay art, here's different concept art, here's things we've done beyond making a game. I was bringing back that, hey, it's really fun and great, but there's so much more than the game, and that's the thing. It's yes, it's a esport and everything, but have fun and kind of help detoxify their community a bit.
Shine a light on some of the positive aspects of the game.
Right,
yeah, exactly.
I haven't played it yet, but I actually re-downloaded everything just to set it up, and I know that I'm hoping that the next week or two, if I get my stuff to try and do my first streams or live streams, I'm gonna just put up as an idiot plays League of Legends and maybe play against some bots with my brother and Reid and Jack, because none of us have played the game in almost a year probably. And just be like, so how do we play the game? Because I come back every year, and they're like, no, you're a tank. You're supposed to be in the top lane. What are you doing? I'm like, I don't care. I'm a giant bear throwing. Happy that I'm a giant bear throwing people. That's just me. So I know that was a huge segue, but I think it was just really cool that there are parts of the convention, the expo, that besides but it's about the culture of the games and appreciating the games and kind of the art of them and kind of bringing that to light. And I like how that's becoming more and more of a trend.
It is, and also, we mentioned the PAX Arena and how esports are also becoming a big thing. There was a major tournament going on the expo floor. It was actually the University League of Legends finals were going on at the same time.
Yeah, and that crowd was so freaking. It was thousands of people around those. And what was it? Just a month or so, they announced that some colleges are now giving full-time scholarships for esports players.
Yep. And
then I just shake myself and go, why was I not born 5 years later? Because I've missed my calling.
So,
jeez.
And you can always tell when something was going on, because from anywhere on the expo floor, you just hear this loud roar of a crowd. It's like, well, something just happened.
Someone scored something somewhere, and someone else is not happy.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see that. Especially since I think last year there was a stage for esports last year. I think a stage, off to the side over by, the PC free play area. To the fact that there was 2 stages. If there may have been a third, I think there might have been a third smaller one, but right there in the center of the exhibit I can't speak. The hall was just like really telling you how far esports have come.
So what was going on at PAX was the University League of Legends Campus Series, and it had come down to, they had played this all throughout, and it had come down to the University of British Columbia versus Robert Morris University.
Oh gosh, I walked by there and they had, so one thing I did with my father's a binding experience because he went to Michigan is I went to go see a college football game. It was Michigan versus Ohio State, I believe. Or I know that there's some rivalries like the Michigan State versus Ohio State and Ohio State versus Michigan. And I'm walking by with my brother and we see Ohio State versus Michigan State. And so I texted that picture to my parents because my dad is from Michigan and my mom's from Michigan State. And they're like, wait, is there a football game going on there? What the hell's happening? Like, they were so confused.
The final was University of British Columbia versus Robert Morris, and the winner was University of British Columbia. So it was, this is taken off like crazy, and it was I didn't stick around to watch any of it because, again, I don't play League. I have no idea what the hell's it's about. It's just there. So, but it's got a fuck ton of interest. So, I got to see a little bit of that. I did my annual tradition of introducing Ryan to tabletop games, so we got to play Bottom of the Ninth and Star Realms. He just beat my ass in all of it. So,
as is only proper.
Yeah, that's the usual case, and I did actually get to check out one AAA game because it was actually I found that when it's like half an hour away from when the expo hall closes, you might actually get into some of these.
Yes.
I got on.
So. Yeah, so I was walking by, and I actually got to go past the Nintendo booth where they were showing off Star Fox Zero.
How was that?
And I'm like, ooh, this is like Star Fox 64 and the original Star Fox. Okay, I can do this. Because, I am not a huge fan of Star Fox. I really enjoyed the Super Nintendo game and Star Fox 64. Not so much the other offshoot games. But Star Fox Zero was like, oh, maybe another one for the Wii U that I may eventually get. I felt bad for the poor sap who was in the Kirby costume.
Oh, God.
I missed that.
You want tough cosplays. Jeez.
Oh, And I did actually get in very quickly. Grimm Brothers, they do the game Dragonfin Soup. They had been at PAX for the last 3 years, and finally their game was released this year. So I got to play a little. I took part in the high score challenge and lost, but for my trouble, I got a free Steam key. So yay!
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, it was nice. I think it was the only Steam key I picked up this year, but after that, it was just a lot of wandering around until these Saturday concerts. By this time, most of you had left.
I was there.
I know you were. It was down to you, me, Jack, and Ryan for the Saturday concerts. Everyone had gone home.
I went to play D&D.
Viable excuse.
Well, it's definitely defensible. This year, the Video Game Orchestra, VGO, they were going to be at PAX, and they weren't there last year. And I said, you know what? I will actually drive to PAX on Saturday, because VGO is closing Saturday night, and I do not want to leave halfway through their set for the train.
Gasp, shock and awe.
I know. So, the concert started earlier this time because there were 4 performers for Saturday night. Starting off with somebody brand new, never been to PAX before. A very nerdy black rapper from Ithaca, New York, who goes by the name of Samus.
We do exist. There's more of us than you'd realize.
How was she? Because she was brand new, and I'm sad I had to miss her.
I missed
her too, unfortunately.
I enjoyed it a lot. Actually, it was very very cool. I could actually understand the lyrics, which sometimes I lose. Like if I'm listening to MC Front a lot of that gets lost.
Yes, I agree.
But it was just her and one other person, the DJ, and I thought she did very, very well. I actually did enjoy her a lot because she would be on the stage during, and then for some songs she'd jump off the stage and just mingle all throughout the main theater.
Always good.
That was fun. I did get some.
What kind of songs did she do? I'm just curious.
Well, me not being really well versed in hip hop and rap, I can't really answer that. Just
I just mean like what were the themes? Was it about individual games or?
She kind of mixed. A number of her songs were about her experiences as being like, the lone, black female nerd in a sea of white.
So in other words, she should be my best friend, and
either that or she's competing with you for the title.
No, I'm like, me and her can sit down and have a cup of coffee and just like talk and just be like, I understand.
But when I found out that she was from Ithaca, I'm like, oh, hey, that's almost local. 3 hours west of Albany, hey. But, again, the concerts are archived on Twitch, so if you want to check that out, go right ahead. I thought she was very cool. Then after she went up, it was Paul and Storm next. Now, I had never really sat down to listen to it. Now, Paul and Storm are another one that are at every single PAX. And finally, I said, I'm just going to, listen to their entire set and, see what I think. I bought one of their albums shortly thereafter because they're fucking hilarious. They have a new album. Their newest album out is called Ball Pit. And somebody actually put on stage an inflatable pool filled with balls. And during their set, the two of them took that ball pit and threw it back into the crowd and then got pelted with all the balls. It was rather funny.
Yeah, a couple of them made it outside because, like, when we were leaving on Saturday night, John's like, "Why are there plastic balls out here?" And I'm just like, "They're from the ball pit." But I'm like, it happened earlier. Somehow they made their way outside.
Like they opened a song called "Right Like the Wind," which was basically pleading George R.R. Martin to finish writing A Song of Fire and Ice.
That's the one they're most known for, yeah.
They they attempted to do a song about boxing nuns, but
sorry, I missed that.
Somebody during the concert threw up a nun puppet, and during the set, the head of the nun puppet broke, and it was just too hysterical. They could not get through the song at all, and a lot of their songs, they did a cover. The Double Clicks came out for a song with them, a duet. The song is a cover of a song that I hear at Ren Fair a lot, called Barrett's Privateers. And that song is by Stan Rogers. But this song was, in that tune, was just basically talking about the con experience. They also did a premiere of a new song in the style of Don McLean's American Pie called Westerosi Pie, which outlined all of the different ways, all of the different deaths that occur in Game of Thrones.
Forever.
That was a ton of fun. But actually, I thought the most touching moment of their set was at the end. Paul and Storm, then the Double Clicks, and MC Frontalot came out to do a cover of both David Bowie's Space Oddity, and Prince's Purple Rain.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, Prince passed away the Thursday beforehand. He had just passed just before the Friday that PAX started. So I noticed they weren't the only ones. There were a couple of fans throughout the concerts that did Prince tributes, like throughout the weekend. At one point, I know MC Frontalot during his set, like, kind of did a little segue into When Doves Cry. Like, it came up a couple times, and it was nice just that. You wouldn't think like the gamer community would be one to really get Prince, but there was a lot of like love and outpouring over the weekend for Prince's music, which I thought was really awesome.
You know, I thought that was incredibly moving. That's how Paul and Storm closed their set. Then the Double Clicks came out and did, you know, a variety of nerdy music.
They were cute.
They were cute. I bought their album, President Snakes. They actually did a bonus concert on day 3 on Sunday in the jam space that I went to. So, and then finally, VGO comes out. VGO comes out, and they are in the middle. They just created a new video game music tour of just Capcom music. So you have all of this rockestral game music, all of this Capcom music, and it just sounded beautiful. And I mean, Wyatt, you've seen VGO. They can get very, very crazy while they're playing.
Yes, they can.
And, you know, they opened their concert with a Street Fighter medley. I
was so happy. That made my day.
Yeah, wasn't it all Capcom based this year? Yeah. I know that we were back at our hotel, but we actually turned them on Twitch for the live feed, and we were listening to them off and on.
It was all Capcom because again they just started a new concert tour for Capcom, and it just made me realize how far Capcom has fallen.
Ouch.
I hear a groan in the background there.
It's hurtful because it's true. Give us Mega Man Legends 3, damn it.
So I just pulled because I wrote down the set list. So they opened with a medley of Street Fighter, then they shifted to the theme of Zinogre from Monster Hunter. They now picked up a second vocalist, so now they have a male and a female singer. And so they went into a song from Devil May Cry 4 called Shall Never Surrender, which was...
The male singer, I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
He's so, like... I don't know what he's done before this, I'll have to look him up, but he definitely looks like he was in, like, a metal band of some sort, and he's got the chops. He's got the dirty vocals and the clean vocals, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was, like, fronting a band on Mayhem Festival last year. But I just know... There was one point in the set, I don't remember which, but I guess it was when they were doing a ballad, and he kind of couldn't sit still. Like, I was watching him in the back, and he's just like, he's dancing, and he's just kind of like, but it didn't really fit the music, so I was just like, I don't think he's used to doing, like, slow music. He could not sit still.
It might have been at the end, because, you know, they did then a song from Okami.
Yeah,
they did.
It was that.
then after that, they went into a theme from the original Mega Man called Cutman Stage. Then they did the theme from Phoenix Wright, Street Fighter V main theme, and you know I kind of really didn't approve of the song they closed with because it's the ballad from the end of Resident Evil 6.
Which you say does not exist,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. You know, Resident. What game?
That which we shall not name.
Yeah. At the end of A Long Escape, that was the song, and then they went on. They did 2 songs as an encore, not video game related at all. They did again Purple Rain, at which Shanna looked at me while they were doing that. She goes, "You know, there are other songs that Prince did besides Purple Rain."
You know, what can I say? I love Purple Rain. Don't get me wrong, but I was like sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like When Doves Cry. You know, like I was just sitting there, my mind going through different Prince songs. I'm like, why is everyone just doing Purple Rain?
And I said it was probably because it was the most.
Rain, yeah, this was not a one-hit wonder.
I said it probably because most of the songs that they could do from Prince might not be fit for public consumption. You know, the 4,000 people in this auditorium, you know, might just become a massive orgy. But
oh, they could have done like Raspberry Beret.
They could have, yeah. So after they did Purple Rain, they finally they bring out Darren Korb, who is the composer for Supergiant. So he did the music for Bastion and Transistor. So he comes out on a guitar, and all of VGO plus him start going. They do "Carry On My Wayward Son" to end the night. It was just hilarious, and everyone's getting into it because, you know, everyone knows that song. And it was a wonderful.
It always makes me think of the end of Eggman.
So they closed out the concerts there. Wonderful time. Yeah, then finally get back to the hotel, collapse, and then it's on to day 3. I know Wyatt, you guys were playing, you know, you old people who went back to the hotel, you know, at 8:30, a night of gaming and drinking.
Yeah, no, that was different for me because normally I'm the guy that likes to be there from sun up to sundown. But again, I had a very different sort of setup this year because I had all my Sprites and Dice stuff, and I was also helping a lot of new people. And I had one or two that, you know, insisted on that. They didn't want to be there the full, you know, 72 hours. And also, I want a little bit of a break so I could hit Sunday full steam and get as many interviews and stuff possible. So Saturday was a blur for me besides the Rift Walk. I got to see the World of Warcraft panel. Again, I did a lot more panels than I've ever done before. And the World of Warcraft one was great because you got to hear about the game. You got to hear one of the, you know, the producer of it who's worked on that stuff for a long time. One of the actors who's played the games for a very long time. They were going back and forth. Very different from the Gearbox panel that I did on the first day, which focused in a lot of gimmicky stuff where they didn't really get into the content for a while. I was actually a little surprised by that. But the Warcraft one I had a great time at. And after that was done, I said bye to my brother. I got a little bit of time on the expo hall floor and we went home. And when we went back, we picked up some bagel bites or pizza bites and some hard cider. And we sat down with a card game that I think is very popular very quickly. Apparently it sells out every convention they bring it to. But Soda Pop Minis has published, they didn't make it, but they published a game called Drunk Quest. Now, I'm sure you've played Munchkin, correct?
Yep.
So imagine instead of the monster having a strength level, imagine it be their drink level.
Oh boy.
Awesome.
So
It was
pretty much,
the game.
there was the one monster that comes when you open the box. The first monster is just called Absinthe, and I was immediately in love.
Oh dear God.
And the way it works is that a drink is only like a sip. So when you take like a swig of beer or like a sip of beer, that's one drink. It's not like a full shot. But like the way it works is, just as an example, Absinthe starts off with 6 drinks as its kind of strength rating. And then it's worth a certain measures, and it's worth a level whenever you kill a monster. Now, everyone has cards that they can use to screw with everybody else on the table. So, for example, if you have a card that says copper piece or gold pieces, you can buy other people drinks when it's not your turn. So Reid, for example, in the middle of the game, got a whole bunch of gold pieces, which made everyone take 3 drinks besides him at a time. And he just played 3. We had 6 other players finishing like half a beers. I think we didn't really care about the game so much as just causing other people to do stupid things. But so what happens is that the monster's on your table, everyone else has a chance to play cards to make it either weaker or stronger. And when it gets back to you, you can make the choice to say, you know what, this monster is too tough for me. Or you can say, you know what, I can take it on. I'm going to take a drink. And you have to take the drink level of that monster in order to defeat it, gain the treasure, and everything like that. So there was 1 or 2 times where people forced me to drink an entire beer and a half in order to defeat a monster. It's just chug the whole thing down at once. And then there's other times where people would, try to switch around the monster. But instead of it becoming really competitive, it just became everyone making fun of each other and just having a good time. So I had a good time with that. And it reminded me that sometimes with PAX, again, going full out the entire time. Sometimes it's good to sit down in the tabletop lounge or go back to your hotel room early and play a game with some friends. So that was nice.
Yeah, I have to say the Drunk Quest was a very geeky drinking game and a very geeky excuse to drink with your friends. And it was kind of cool to come back after a day of walking around the con and having feet that were complaining all the high hell and play that. But I just wanted to share quickly too, like kind of my ending for Saturday night, having much like Wyatt missed the concerts and gone back to the hotel early, but was going with a few people over to one of the local block or two away from PAX, and just seeing the like mixture of the 9 to 5 like workers that are like ending their Saturday business day or whatever in like suits and ties, and the cosplayers and the like obviously PAX congoers all like intermingling in this beer hall, and just like watching the regular people looking like, oh, yeah, okay, it must be that time of year again. And just how accepted that was that, no, this is a thing. Where like several years ago, you go dress up or go to a con and have all your swag or your pony hat or unicorns or whatever, and you get weird looks left and right. Now it's just like, oh, must be that time of year. But the experience was a lot of fun. And a very important lesson for anybody that decides to try and get drinks at Boston is a reminder that you can't buy alcohol after a certain hour, because I think we ran out of alcohol pretty fast with that game.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was more just an excuse to have. I think what was it? We had like 10 friends in that room, all just hanging out. Not everyone was even playing the game. We were just having fun drinking and chatting. And some of these friends, like with Brian lives upstate, I live downstate, and going to do the conventions like this is a way for us to reconnect. And I know I didn't get a chance with Brian that much, but with other friends I was able to. And that's worth it for me.
Yeah, and Reid, drink not lasting long with you around, I'm shocked. It's
came into the game after taking the required after cosplay shower and peeling my vault suit off and the sweaty mess that left. Poured myself a glass of whiskey from my flask I brought with me, walk in, and it's like, oh, okay, we're playing a game. What are we playing? Drunk Quest. You have to drink every time you beat a monster. I just poured myself some whiskey. That'll do fine.
Yeah, we're all drinking a hard cider, and he sits down with a glass of whiskey. He's like, wait, am I playing hard mode? So we screwed with
you guys gave me a handicap.
That was mythic difficulty.
Yeah. By the time I got back, it was almost 1 a.m., and I was like, okay, bed. On to day 3. So this time, my brother-in-law decided he was going to do a little exploring of his own. That's what he typically does on the 3rd day. He's like, all right. He's tagged around with me for 1 full day. Now he's going to go off and see what interests him. Sunday being the 3rd and final day, you notice that most of the lounges and stuff are full of sleeping gamers.
That's
Who
true.
needs sleep?
So, but I was on the expo floor again, sampling out some more indie games, and there was a couple of them. I own this, but I introduced Ryan to Brawlhalla.
Yes.
Good stuff.
I introduced Ryan to Brawlhalla. I also got to play another indie game that is also out. That's another one. This is also not Mega Man. 20XX.
Oh,
Yes, we just did a review on that. I know Eric got it.
20XX, and I actually participated in a tournament, a Mario Kart 64 tournament, in which
How'd that go?
I lost in the first round, but not. It was not overwhelming. The way they had set it up was it was 64 players, but on each at each station it was a 4-player versus. So the top 2 in each race advanced. So, and I came in 3rd for both races. So that's what happens when somebody gets a lightning and a blue shell right at the end. That's what happens. As is the case with Mario Kart, because blue shells and lightning bolts. That's That's how Mario Kart, does socialism. That's how they even out the playing field there.
No, that's how friendships end, my friend.
That's why.
Now I'm just gonna imagine that GIF of Bernie Sanders screaming socialism and like darting forward in his chair every time a blue shell hits. Socialism every time.
Yep. Just every single time. But the tournament that went on before that was a Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, a GameCube game. And it was down to 2 players. One of them was cosplaying as Sans from Undertale. And now, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd never noticed that in tournaments before. Because this year, anyone who partook of a console tournament, the winner and second place would get medals. So there was a gold PAX medal and a silver PAX medal. I don't know if that's a new thing, but it was certainly new to me.
No, I've never really done the tournaments before because I'm either busy even just trying to get to the panels off the expo hall floor. So that would be news for me.
But yeah, they were handing out medals, and I think and I took a picture of the winner and the runner-up. I've been told that the winner, she is on YouTube a lot. She's also a speedrunner, but I did not catch her name. But yeah, I'd run into her earlier cosplaying as Sans, so that was funny. Let's see, what else? Day 3. Again, I mentioned I got to see the bonus concert at the Jam Space. The Double Clicks did a show there. And I basically just did, a lot of wandering around until we got to the final round of the Omegathon. So, anyone else, day 3?
Well, speaking of Sonic, did anyone else see the Sonic Challenge? Or anyone else do it on the spinning couch?
That couch.
Oh, the
at the Torino's
I watched, but I did not do it.
I tried. I kept trying to go back to see what it was going to be like, and by the time I got back on Sunday, it was finally it looked like it was finally shut down. So I was bummed. But yeah, there was a couch challenge sponsored by what was it? Tostino's?
Torino's.
Torino's. Yeah, the little pizza bites.
Yep. And they were serving pizza bites.
Yeah, they were serving pizza bites. We got a couple of them, but they used to play Sonic 2 while this couch was spinning around.
Yep.
Now, I didn't get to ride the couch, but you could go on the sidelines and actually, hold up, you could play Caesar a little bit. You could hold up placards with what the couch would do. So, me and my friend Josh were sitting there just Caesaring it up, holding up, placards that said, spin, now tilt it, now this and that. And, the guy would kind of, catch it, and they would, spin the couch around whatever way you suggested. So you would add extra challenges for the player that's trying to beat, or I think it was they were trying to get as many rings as possible on the first level of Sonic 2, while this couch... Yeah, while this couch is, spinning and tilting and flipping backwards and whatnot.
I saw that because I'm walking by on the expo floor and I'm like, what smells like pizza bites? I don't see any food around here. Oh! Okay. So yes, that I remember seeing that. I also had taken a lot of pictures of cosplayers throughout the entire convention. I think my favorite one was King Hippo.
Oh, yeah. I think he's there every year.
Yep.
I've seen him a couple times.
Yep.
He's really good, though.
But I actually did get a picture of him and somebody playing as Little Mac with the pink hoodie. And, so I got a picture of Little Mac punching King Hippo in the bandaged belly button.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun. Anyone else, day 3?
Well, my day 3 was... thankfully as regular edition Reid and not cosplaying. I left that all at home. And I got to actually play a lot more games in the indie game area and some of the tabletops. I played a demo for a game by the same company as your Star Realm called Epic, which reminds me of a much more cost-efficient Magic the Gathering that was a lot faster and kind of easier to get into. So much like you, Brian, I had to pick that game up and all the expansions to it. So But I think I found on day 3 my favorite game of the con. Over near the indie games and everything, I played a game called Dead by Daylight.
You mentioned,
and I had
yes.
Yeah, I had spotted this game a few times in passing, and it looked similar to Into the Woods and some of the other horror games you guys kind of mentioned. It's like, oh, okay, it's gotta be just another one of those. And finally, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna play this game. And I didn't realize that there's 2 lines for the to go into the beta for it and give it a try. There was a survivor line and a killer game, because basically it was an asymmetric game where you're a team of survivors / victims, and you're some horror movie-esque killer. Like the one that they had set up on the floor was a very Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers style, masked guy called the Trapper, and hunt down the other all 4 victims before they have a chance to, I guess, turn on all these generators, turn the lights on to the playing field, which is like this lumber yard, and make their escape. And it was a lot like the same premise, similar to Evolve, which came out a few years ago, but it was a lot of fun finally getting in the line after sitting there and talking with some of the devs and exchanging favorite hobbies, things like that. I got to sit down and play Survivors, which was a fun kind of hide and go seek experience. There's no weapons, there's no really any way to fight off the killer, defend yourself, other than run and hide. And I liked it so much, it's all right, now I've got to try the killer, which the line for the killer was a lot shorter, I guess because people didn't want to admit that, really hunting other people down. And that was just such a different, and I guess because I had played the 2 ends of it and had been talking the whole time with 2 of the devs, they were asking for some of my opinions. They're what do you think is one of the hardest aspects of it, and such like that. So I got to give some decent feedback, and it was just a really fun experience because it was a much smaller booth, much smaller game, surprisingly smaller lines, but that could have been because of it being Sunday. But it was a blast. And I think that was definitely my favorite game to walk away from the convention with.
I know I had one of those moments myself. Like you said, Friday was a lot of me doing expo work and kind of showing off what the expo was for people like my brother and my friends. And, great and rewarding and everything. And then Saturday was a lot of time with my brother, which was worth every penny just for that, to be honest. Was just to, see people that I haven't seen for a while, and the drinking afterwards with friends. But Sunday, I'm like, all right, I'm going to the convention for myself. And again, I still did some experimentation, but I had a great time. The first thing I did is I went on the expo hall queue line, and I went right for the Behemoth, because I'd gone to the Behemoth booth before to buy things, but I never actually sat down to play their games. And they had their brand new game, Pit People, which is a turn-based game, which is very different from Castle Crasher. So I was going to say, Brian, you need to play this game, but I'm not sure you'd like it because of the style of game. But the voice acting is right up there again. What it is, it's a turn-based game set up with the same sort of art style that Battle Block Theater had. But the narrator now is convinced that you should be dead. During the tutorial, he's talking about how the world is great, and it's great that it's in chaos, and there's some great stories. For example, this poor man, Horatio, with his lowly farm, with his children, nobly fighting off these hordes of marauding people. Too bad he will die soon. I said, too bad he will die soon. Damn it, kill him. And then you get mobbed by people. And you actually finish the tutorial by getting rid of everybody else that's there besides you. And the narrator gets so bad as you see pretty much a large demigod bear's foot crush your family's home, which has your child in it. And then he tells you this wouldn't have happened if you had just died like you were supposed to. And he keeps trying to narrate your life as you're going out, make a better future for yourself throughout the course of this demo. So it's really, really funny. It's got that same trademark humor. And it was really, really cool. And one really cool gimmick that I loved, and I'm going to write an article about this, is that it's a turn-based game, right? So it's, it's very much, move here, hold down A, execute your orders. But they did a good job of making it feel as frenetic as Battle Block Theater because of all the background stuff. When archers would fire, they'd pepper the area around you, not just one area. So it felt very frenetic. But for the console that they set up and where you'd sit down and play the game, instead of having a controller, they actually had like an arcade setup. Where you would have just a very large, bright A button that says press this, a very small cancel button, and then normally in the game you have to hold the Y button on like an Xbox controller in order to execute your attacks. In this, though, the Y button had been turned into a tank, so you would grab the Y and pull it back to cause the effects. So it added to the experience. I was really happy to kind of get an hour to myself just to play that game. So that was a highlight. Besides that, then I just bounced around. Like, I went to so many different Expo Indie Mega Booth games, and I didn't even get a chance to play more than half of them because I was pretty much going, hi, I'm from Sprites and Dice, call me, give them my card, they give me my card, we'd move on to the next one. Gruff was a great card game about being a herder of monster goats that you mutate to do more damage to people, and I had fun playing that with people.
That sounds like it's right up your alley, actually.
Yeah. I introduced that to Jen, and I kept making bleeding noises while we were playing after attacks, and we just started laughing hysterically. A lot of games were there that I just can't even remember them all by this point. I ended up getting a whole bunch of them to bring back as review copies, and I also bought some. It's always great when you see games that you've recognized from previous years come back. So, like, for example, Necropolis, which is a very moody style. Again, it was just really great to finally go through the Expo Hall floor on my own and see a lot of these games and hang out with the developers and just ask them questions about the game, which, again, is the reason why you go to conventions. Made some purchases for myself, and I also still went to more panels. Two things I noticed. Again, the panels were much more widespread. There was always a lot of panels about, why this game is great or why this game is awesome. But they had a lot more about equality. And I know we talked about that previously, but they had a lot about diversity or inclusivity, mental health. So they had some where they had psychologists come in on Friday. I didn't get to go to this one, but I kind of skimmed it on Twitch. About psychology again, what psychologists did when they analyzed some video games and how it affects people. And they had that trend. And I went to a panel on Sunday called Resiliency in Gaming, and it was done by an ex-military guy who had been trained as a sort of officer for mental health, like games like World of Tanks. And so he was kind of talking about his experience about resiliency and taking care of yourself in terms of mental health, and how the gaming community is a good community because they stick together, which is something you don't freaking hear a lot. You hear about how the gaming community tears itself apart. And he was talking about how he'd seen how people that were on Twitch or streaming kind of brought together communities. And if someone mentioned how, when they were donating money to the streamer that they were having a hard time, people would rally around them and be like, I hope you're doing better. And that was really cool to hear and kind of get that experience. And I also went to at least several panels on how to start streaming, what it's like to get started on social media, partially because, that's what I do with just basic journal writing. And I'll have to admit, it was a little frustrating when you hear streamers be like, oh yeah, I finally hit my first 1 million subscribers. You're like, son of a bitch, how do you do that? But at the same time, it's kind of cool to see how they did it. Spent time with John looking at that. Again, it was just, the convention as a whole was amazing. I didn't do as much just going and playing games for game's sake in this time. I was doing a lot of bouncing around, from showing people the ropes to doing interviews and then trying out panels. But I'm glad I did. It was different PAX for me, but it was a great PAX.
I'm glad you finally had that opportunity on the third day to just, you have some alone time, just go and, check out things and be like, yeah, hi, I'm Wyatt from Sprites and Dice. Call me. We'll do lunch.
Call me. It's my number. I love you.
Love you. Love you. So, Shanna, you had one more thing to add about Star Realms, and then we'll go to Jonathan.
Yeah, actually, this was technically a Saturday story now that I think about it. But, so I had a bit of a quest, and that quest was the quest for the Mighty Star headbands. I don't know if you guys saw people walking around with these light-up star headbands all weekend, but I saw them, and I was just like, I need one. Like, I was just like, that needs to be on my head, and it needs to be on my head now. So I don't know how this ended up being such a thing, but I asked like several people where to find them, and I kept getting different directions. And at one point, I was told like, oh yeah, it's Star something. Like, it's for, you played this demo for this game called Star something, and I demo for this game, I think it's called Star. So I go over to the Star Realms booth, I find it, and I look around and I'm like, I don't see any of the headbands over here. And like, you know, I was like, okay, whatever. Like, maybe I have to play a demo first or whatever. So I went and like, this poor kid is trying to teach me a demo. And mind you, I'm not the best when it comes to card games. I just don't have the brain for them, I think, sometimes. I don't know. But this kid's trying to teach me how to play, and I'm starting to actually grasp it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. Okay, so when you put this card down, it does this. When you put this card down, this is what this means. I'm like, all right, I got it. And then I don't know what happened, but then he's like, and then when you flip it sideways, it means this. And then if you turn it this way, it means, and then I just lost it. I'm just like, I don't know how to do this. So I end up eventually leaving the booth, and I'm like, I didn't get Star headbands. Like, what's going on? And like, I asked, like, one ended up at the booth where they actually were, called Star Crusade. And so he plays the demo, and, you know, he wins me my headbands, but it was a little ridiculous. I spent like half the day trying to get this Star headband and playing the wrong demo and asking all these people, and all this just for a little light up headband that I was only going to wear for like 6 hours. But that is the kind of thing you do at PAX, so it was totally worth it, because these Star headbands are awesome. They're and like rave worthy.
And you look so adorable in them.
Yay! Yeah, I even posted a picture on my Facebook, like, look, I got them.
You did, so.
But yeah, actually, one more, or there was actually another game I wanted to bring up that I did play on Sunday. Dad by the Sword.
That sounds like a game that's full of puns, horrible puns.
The name itself is fun, isn't it? Well, that was a pretty fun one. And let me just tell you, the trailer that they had for this game was hilarious, because it looked like one of those really great 1990s Sega Genesis commercials. Like, this guy's playing the game, and the more he's playing, he's just like bleeding all over the place, like, ah! Like, it was so silly. But yeah, the whole point is, like, you're playing this adventure game, and it kind of looked a lot like Minecraft in a way. But you know. And like, if you pan down, you see, I think the guy's wearing loafers and whatnot, and your sword actually gets tired. So you'll be fighting something, and then the sword just kind of flops over and you die. I don't know. It was just...
Period.
Huh?
It has a refractory period?
Yeah, it does. But yeah, it was basically just you're this guy, and you're somebody's dad, and you're running a sword trying to fight things like dog monsters and whatnot. And it took a little bit of strategy, and I kind of got my ass handed to me a couple of times, but just the game itself was very fun. It was very funny. It was very silly, and I had a good time with it. Oh, and everything dyed with pink blood. I remember that too. Very, very pink blood.
This isn't blood, it's jelly. So... All right, Jonathan, we haven't heard from you in a while.
I've been quiet. It's really weird. Day 3 was another great day, like they all were, but I actually had a friend who lived outside of Boston who only came for Sunday, and it was our first time being at PAX. And it was good, because she's now all super excited. It's 3 days next year. We made up a new PAX attendee. But the first thing we did was... with her added to our group, the small group I was walking with that morning, we had 5. We ran over to Battleborn and we jumped online for that. It actually wasn't too bad, even though it wrapped all the way around the section that they had for it, because I guess they were running a short game mode. And what I liked about Battleborn is they brought you in and had a talk with you got to talk with one of the lead designers on the game. And he went over, what their goal was and what they plan to do, like literally what Wyatt says PAX is about. It was the first thing you got to do before you got to play the game, and then they went over the game mode and what you wanted to do. And what I really liked is, this dev for the game is like, I'm the one who gets to come out here to these cons, and it's great, and I love it, and I want to send show some support to the other people working on this game that don't get to come out here. And they had a big poster and they had everybody who came through. They gave them all Sharpies and had everyone who played the game sign this giant Battleborn poster that they brought back to kind of give to their co-workers, and I thought that was really cool. Sorry, completely not about the game, but I just really liked that. The game itself was a blast. They took their Borderlands style, because this was done by Gearbox, but they decided to do more of a hodgepodge of character types. So you got a mage type character, and there's an archer type character, and then there's Montana, who is a giant man that wields a Gatling gun, who is actually, I think he's voiced by Joe from Family Guy, because I played him that day, and all the comments he made while I played, I thought that I'm pretty sure this is Joe. I actually killed the other Montana
Nice.
on the other team, and my favorite comment still that stands out of my head was I went up against the other Montana on the other team, and when I killed him, I went, my character goes, and Montana win off. It just stuck out with me. So they did a lot with the characters in that game, and it's your typical, well, not typical, but it's a game style where you're on a battlefield. You got your capture points, but you get to build stuff, build turrets and accelerators and things that benefit your team with shards that you can pick up off the ground. Crystals will appear around that you can break to get this in-game currency that you can use to build and upgrade turrets to help you out, and you can use them to buy upgrades for yourself as well. So you get choices while also having this first-person shooter battle, and it was a lot of fun. The characters are extremely unique. They even have a luchador in there. So they went as diverse as they could with the characters, and I still want to. There's like 3 or 4 other player characters that you just looked at the poster that they made and was like, I want to try that guy out. So that's on my list that I gotta try it in the next couple weeks. It comes out on the 3rd, I believe. I don't have money after PAX.
I don't think too many of us do, actually.
And then I think that's the point of PAX to an extent. I got paid, and that went to paying off the credit that I spent at PAX. But the second game I played that day that really stood out was in the indie game booth again. I spent a lot of time in the indie booth. They had a lot of good stuff there. But did anybody else play or see Kingdom?
I did.
No, I didn't get to check that one out.
I saw it. I didn't play it.
It's a 2D side scroller. It's like a strategy resource management thing. It's very minimalist styled. You can literally only go left or right on this plane, from at least what I could tell. And I think, from what I can tell, and because I've looked it up afterwards, a lot of the game is discovering what you can do with like the keys and what functions you have. There's no tutorial. You just ride in on a horse in the beginning when you ride into a small encampment, and there people can you can give people the couple coins you have to bring vagrants into the town or to the encampment, or you can have the one guy who's skilled build the bows, and those vagrants can become hunters, and they can hunt. They'll start shooting animals that pass by, like rabbits and deer, and those deer, like your stereotype game, they drop that you can pick up to then use to improve the village. You don't get to go really far into it because my friend Greg also played with me, and we had 2 consoles, and less than like 10 minutes into playing or so, you barely get your town, and these giant like alien creatures every night they come and attack your village, and you get the monster that you wouldn't normally see until you played for hours and hours. But it was a simple game. You had to use a couple of keys, but there was so much to find in it, and I think literally everybody in my group, after having played around with it at PAX, we literally all came home, and I think we all bought that game. So that one also stood out for me on day 3, and it's been fun.
And then we all died.
Yep.
And we all died.
Far on the way home.
PAX hangover.
PAX, well, I mean, because April and I actually got lucky. We had some vacation time, so we actually did not head home that night, so we stayed until Monday. But even then, it took me
lucky.
it took me at least 3 days to, mostly recover from that, because the first couple of days I had to go back to work. I was
So
just
you're
like,
saying on the third day you rose again?
well, I mean, if I'm Jesus, then we're all screwed. I mean, I am, slightly Jewish, but I don't think that'll matter in the grand scheme of things. So there we are. It's been another great PAX. I'm very glad that I've now been to 5 of these things. I'm hoping eventually to make it to PAX Prime, or PAX West as it's now called. I don't know how they do it, though. That's a 4-day con.
Oh my god.
Couldn't do it.
Stamina.
And they actually did announce that passes for PAX South are going on sale May 17th. They
They're never going to announce.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one that doesn't sell out.
Yeah, that's in Texas. So May 17th, mark your calendars, people. So, do we have any final thoughts that we want to share about this year's PAX East, or can we put this to bed?
Can't wait for next PAX.
We survived another one.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. So, PAX!
PAX!
But I always, and we
PAX good.
PAX. We always repeat this at the end of each episode, but I love the fact that 75,000 people can get together and just embrace gaming. It's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
It's an absolutely wonderful thing, and
It's about time. We didn't all have this growing up.
Yeah, we need. Well, that's only going to get better, and the good news is that PAX East is going to be at the Boston Convention and Exposition Center till 2023. They've signed a contract through that, so it's going to be there for at least the next 7.
Awesome.
I think this is a bigger place they can host it, so I mean...
Yeah, I mean, they already had to expand once from the Heinz to this place, so we get what we get. So, if you have any questions, comments about this episode, if any of you out there want to share your own PAX experiences, give us some feedback. You can get every episode at www.dlcpodcast.com. You can get all of the written reviews that Wyatt, John, Eric, and everyone at Sprites and Dice did over at spritesanddice.com. Read them. They work their asses off to provide you information. So much Red Bull. Well, I know you don't drink Red Bull.
You better be thankful.
Yes. Please validate Wyatt. Please.
I need
I
it.
already went and bought a game thanks to what he was talking about here. So.
Yeah. So already, we haven't even finished recording yet, and Wyatt is already
I now own
responsible
Drunk
for
Quest.
more money spending. See, Wyatt?
This is why we can't
For
have...
their own good, damn it.
So all it remains for me to do is to thank Shanna, Wyatt, Reid, and Jonathan for being on this episode of Downloadable Content. So thank you one and all, and with that, I am Brian. Have a good one, everybody.